But I've never watched this video, and I think even me ad-libbing, I think will be about similar in what I'm saying and what he's gonna say. Or me riffing, not ad-libbing. Racketeering, for the most part, when you see a RICO charge, think 20 years. Okay? Just think 20 years. Most racketeering charges, if you blow trial, they're going to go for 20 years. That's about it. Even if, especially if there's no cooperation, and even if it's your first, conviction. There's certain things, say there was wire fraud and some other stuff, they might go for 15 or, rarely 10. But if you go to trial on racketeering, they want 20. Now, if there's a murder, that's a predicate act under racketeering, they want life. Okay? In this situation, right, sex trafficking could potentially, and we could look up the federal statute on that. Sex trafficking federal sentence. It carries 10 to life. Okay, so yeah, there's nothing that is like mandatory life. Usually murder is mandatory life, or at least 35 to life or whatever. So from everything I saw as the predicate acts, there's nothing that carries necessarily mandatory act, but they could. So it'll be like 10-2. It's a range, 10-2, right? And then obviously they have guidelines. Obviously, if you cooperate, they could go below the guidelines. But if you have like other Fed charges or your criminal history, or there's a bunch of things that could just ramp it up, they could give you life. That's why they say Diddy's facing life. But theoretically, I think if Diddy's, how old is Diddy right now? How old is Diddy? Diddy right now is 55. 20 years if they get that 20 on him. By the way, he has no criminal history from what, no federal criminal history or no federal felonious criminal history from what I've been told. So let's say they get him, but still it's sex trafficking. If they catch him on sex trafficking for racketeering, he's getting 20. They got to give him 20, right? So that's going to be 75. The other charges, obviously, I think, they would run it concurrently instead of consecutively. But still, if you're possibly going to be in jail till 70 plus, a lot of people feel like that's tantamount to a life sentence. But technically, he has charges that could carry up to life, but not mandated life. When you see murder, it's do or die. It's life. Like, for example, with K Flock, even though he's like 20-something years of age at this point, I think he's just 21 or 20. If he had got found guilty of murder within the racketeering case, he would have gotten automatic life. Like, they can't do nothing for him. But the fact that he didn't, that's why he has a chance to get out. And I think he'll get out by he's 35 or close to 40. Pending appeal, if they get appeal off, right? So count one, I think Diddy's facing 20 here. This is what I've always said. I think Diddy's facing 20, right? Like, it sounds good to say he's facing life. He's not going to get life. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to get life, right? He doesn't have a criminal history. There's not like these other, like, really extreme factors that are going to push for them to say life in prison. They're going to give him 20. So that really the top charge is count one. That's 20, right? Count three, and by the way, this is the hardest one to beat. It's racketeering. They got mad different predicate offenses that he's charged with, and then fuck the over offenses. Those don't really matter in the case of like found guilty or not, and then being sentenced, even though you would consider the overt when you're sentenced. But still, let's just say 20 years. I'm trying to make it simple. I'm trying to make you understand this. Count 3 and 5. Now, here's why, well, really, count 2 to 5. Remember, it's really just a racketeering conspiracy for sex trafficking. Count 2 and 4, this is important. The reason why they gave him 2 different counts. Count 2 is for Cassie solely. Here's why they charge it separately. In racketeering, you need a pattern and you need multiple. If they can't, remember, they don't have a lot of victims like we think. If they can't get both victims, because there's 2 main victims, there's more than 2, there's like 5. But charge in the racketeering conspiracy for sex trafficking, there's 2 main victims, right? There's other victims, like other victims for his witness intimidation. There's victims for arson. Like, technically, Kid Cudi would be seen as a victim, but not really, because even though it's supposedly one of the acts in the racketeering, I hope I'm not like going too much and confusing you. So I'm trying to tell you the strategy of how the government wants to convict him. So if he blows trial and get convicted of 1, 20 years, they give him 20. If he beats 1, they still don't want him to get out. They want to catch him. I think you guys get it. And check, I know somebody says play the video instead of yapping. I don't think he's gonna go down the route I'm going down. I'm talking about convictions. So we're fast forwarding to 8 weeks in the trial. He has to try to beat 1 or else he's fucked. If he beats 1, here's the thing. The reason, if he beats 1, he automatically is going to beat 2 or 4. Because if he's guilty of 2 and 4, he's guilty of 1. Okay? So if he's guilty of sex trafficking, 2, which is Cassie, and 4, which is Jane Doe, both of them is RICO. You get what I'm saying? So if he's guilty of 2 and 4, he's guilty of 1. If he beats 1, they likely could get him 2 or 4. Okay? And then the other one, which this is the lightest one, is transportation, because this is 10 years. So if he beats 1, I think the strongest one, the other one's going to be 2, which is Cassie. This is the Cassie charge. Count 2 is Cassie charge. So if he beats the racketeering, the Cassie charge could still get him 20. The Jane Doe charge could still get him 20. But I think Cassie's a stronger witness or a stronger victim. So I think he needs to beat 1, which I think if he beats 1, he beats 4. And then he needs to beat 2, which is beat Cassie. And then after that, who gives a fuck? Yeah, of course he had hoes. Like, he could even plead guilty to 3 or 5. I'm pretty sure if they came to him with a plea for just 3 and 5, he would have took that plea. 100%. But they probably wanted him to plead guilty to count two, and they would have dismissed everything else. That would have been 20 years, and then they would have, well, not necessarily 20 years. They could have went below it and say, we're gonna recommend 10 to 15, right? Because let's see, what does sex trafficking sentence guidelines? Here we go. It's gonna tell us. I think it's below 20. Come on, give us years. Fuck the guidelines. All right, sentencing federal. Here we go. We'll find it. Okay, 10 years to life. Bingo. So remember, RICO, you're getting to 20. You got to beat the RICO. Sex trafficking is over 10. So 10 to life. So I think the plea they gave him is no, like that whole thought they gave him 5 years. Fuck out of here. The only way they could give him 5 is if he goes count 3 or 5. And at that point, that means why would the government before trial say, hey, we're going to dismiss the Cassie shit, the Jane Doe shit, and the racketeering shit to give you just prostitution charges and give you 5 years. So they want a sex trafficking charge to stick. Now, remember, let's Google that. Transportation to engage in prostitution, federal sentence. They're going to tell us right here. That carries a maximum. Wait, hold on. No. Wait, here we go. If it has minors, it's generally 10 years. The penalties, I had seen 5 to 10. I could be wrong on that. I know that's the lightest sentence they have. As long as there's no minors in it. Okay. It's the Mann Act. Let's see. Years. Okay. The federal act imposes a punishment for not more than 5 years. So the Mann Act is like around 5 years, okay? The Mann Act, as long as it doesn't deal with no kids. Obviously, there's going to be a range because of it's 2 people, also the length. But I do know they could go as low as 5. So that's why when we were hearing this thing that Diddy could get 5 years in a plea, they would have to waive both of these, waive this, and give him one of these, and give him 5 years. What the fuck? Like, at that point, Diddy's probably going to be like, oh, y'all got nothing on me then. I'm taking this shit. I would have took the 5. But still. Okay, cool. So now we know what he's charged for. I hope I just understood. Like, by the way, drill, clip this so that people can understand what Diddy's really facing. You know, I wanted to make it simple. Racketeering, 20. Count 2 or 4, but not guilty of racketeering, at least I got to say 15, right? His best bet is not guilty of everything, but his best bet is the middle counts. Just prostitution, he could get 5 to 15 or whatever, but he has no criminal history. They're going to give him 5, right? They're going to give him 5, and then he's been in jail for like damn near a year. He'll get out in 2 years, and he's still like, baby oiling it up, okay? So if he gets found guilty of this, he's cool. Guilty of this, he's fucked. Guilty of this and this, he ain't coming back. So this and this, not coming back. Just 2 or 4, still 15 years. Just 3 or 5 or 3 and 5, under 10. So the only way he gets life is 1. He has to get convicted of this conspiracy. And also, just that you know, they're contingent. If he gets found not guilty of 1, he can't get found guilty of 2 and 4. The jury guidelines, they're gonna be so diametrically opposed. You would vote either 2 or 4, and 2 is Cassie, 4 is Jane Doe. All right, sorry, chat.
Overall, are what the government is seeking to prove to put PD away for life. Now, to prove their case, the government has started calling 5 witnesses this first week.